And so my only way out was through. And I would talk to people like, if you're going through hell, well, hell, don't stop. You better get to the other side. And back's always worse. Back is always worse.
When you need some advice, never sacrifice, always get it right. Ask the Planman. Finance, insurance, and more.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ask the Planman. I'm your host, Bruce Weinstein. And as I've told you many times, I have a belief that each and every one of us needs to have a plan when it comes to every aspect of our lives. Financial plan, retirement plan, college plan. Well, today I've got a super special guest today, good friend of mine, Doug Wood. We're going to talk about health and fitness plans. We're going to get into Doug's entrepreneurship and how he's built multiple business lines. I know Doug for about 3 years now through the health coaching community with Optavia. So please welcome my good friend, Doug Wood, all the way from Scottsdale, Arizona. Doug, welcome to Ask the Planman. Let's kind of start out with what the world of health coaching is like. And I'd like you to be able to share with my listener how you built this amazing business in the health coaching space.
Bruce, thanks for having me here, man. I've long overdue, but here we go and get to dive right into it. You would ask me 15 years ago, would the word health coach ever be on my business card? I would have laughed in your face because I was 275 pounds. I was living in Portland, Oregon at the time, and I literally owned a furniture store, and that's what I saw my future as. But, I had what they call the furniture disease, where my chest was dropping through my drawers, and I was putting on weight by the minute. And, just that's what business can do if health's not a priority or it just doesn't come natural. I was born a big boy, but I stumbled into Optavia because I saw a post on Facebook, and a friend of mine who I went to church with had posted he was, losing some weight. And man, I never, one thing about me, I'll never quit trying. Even if I'm not successful, there's no quit in my body, and it will never, ever be a discussion point for me. But I wanted to try something new, and I needed a structured plan. And so I reached out to him, and he became my health coach. And, it's interesting, Bruce, you're a coach, you're a plan man. I'm for crying out loud. That's what we do is if you want to be successful, you want to grow in an area, you hire a coach that is more successful in that area than you. And I'd had a faith coach, finance coach. We have marriage coaches, parent coaches. I had never, ever considered saying, I actually need someone to hold me accountable in my health and give me an easier plan to follow. And so, I followed the Optavia plan. I lost 70 pounds. About halfway through that journey, I'm like, this is amazing. And there's one thing to do it, but when you start coaching it, that's when it kind of cements that journey for you. And so for me, coaching, just even a few friends concreted that journey. And I'm like, I want to be a coach the rest of my life. And I took off from there.
And about how long ago was that?
I was in 2010, and took me 2.5 years. We coached part-time for about 2 years before we became full-time coaches with Optavia. I sold the furniture business. I got out of it. And I just wanted to help people. And we moved down here to sunny Arizona in 2014 and have not looked back.
That's amazing. So Doug and I met through mutual acquaintance, Coach Burt. At the time when I got involved, like you, I was in the 270 range. And one of the things that Coach Burt had talked about was the motivations for the Prey Drive. And for me, the tipping point was embarrassment. And I've shared this on the show before, is I spoke at an insurance event. We're just reestablishing our business in the insurance world. And I wanted to get out and start telling my story and share my 35 plus years of experience. And so I committed to speaking on a small stage, but a stage nonetheless. And I committed first, and I figured it out. And it happened to be on my 58th birthday. It's 2.5 years ago. And somebody took my picture, my wife, with some people. Again, it was on my birthday. And I saw how fat I was. Now, this is in the midst of COVID, and not that COVID was my excuse. I was chubby and blubbery, but well before, but COVID added another 20 or 30 pounds on top of that, right? So, battling between 240 and 250, all of a sudden I'm 275. And the picture, I literally said, and I called myself a fat sausage. And I had a conversation with Natalie, Coach Burt's wife, and came home from that conference and called her up and said, get me started. And then you and I met a few months later that September, because I think you spoke at Coach's conference and gave me a fist bump and a shout out. And I thank you for that. And I have your book. We'll talk about your book too. I got an autographed copy of Doug's book. But I mean, by that point in time, I was already down like 20, 25 pounds. I was on my journey and I posted it every week for that year, usually every Friday, an accountability post. So, I had Natalie and I was using the Optavia program. And not that we're trying to make this an Optavia commercial, folks, but it worked for Doug. And I could tell you through my years of, not that I did Slim Fast. What are some of the ones out there? I did Nutrisystem in the 80s, Jenny Craig with my wife. I gone to Weight Watchers. I like to eat. And the problem in the constant battle was I really needed a different approach. And I was blown away at how well my body responded to the Optavia program. 10 pounds the first week, 20 pounds the first month. I was down 40 pounds in 3 months and I'm like, holy cow, this is amazing and relatively easy for me. And part of it is the routine and the structure. I don't want to cook the meals. I don't want to have to meal prep. I don't have to, I had 3 grapes and 4 bananas and so anyway, it worked. And in my year, with cheats along the way, because you still like to have, something here and there. And I'm sure you've indulged on occasion. But I lost 59 pounds by my 59th birthday. And I took other people on that journey because posting on Facebook, I'm getting 10, 20, 30 people reaching out to me privately. I'd get 300 likes, comments, and, attaboys. And the attaboys are nice. But what was nicer was when somebody that I went to high school that I haven't heard from in 30 years going, dude, I'm like 280 myself. Like, you got me motivated. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing this and this. And then we had like this little side community. So, I'm not a professional coach in regard to you, but I got great reward in helping and keeping others motivated and structured. So I can only imagine the broad feeling you and Tia have by helping the hundreds of, and you can give us numbers, like how many hundreds and thousands of people you've helped, coached in your community, because you run a pretty big community. So like you said offline, it's all about helping others. And, you give and karma finds its way back. And so we're here to help. So yeah, my journey helps motivate other people's journey. And I'll speak candidly to the audience. Like, I follow Doug because Doug motivates me. Doug's in the gym. He's sexy as F, by the way, folks. Doug's not only has he lost the weight, but in the last year and a half or so that I've been following him as well closely, he's rebuilt his body. You could talk. I don't want to keep stealing your thunder, but I'll pump you up. He's been pumped up. He's been doing bodybuilding showcases. Like, he's going out and doing fitness things that he's stepped out of his comfort zone. And then I look at that going, boy, I wish I had that courage. I wish I could do that too. But I'm in the gym. I'm pumping weights. Like, I see my body transforming. Part of my, second year of this was to rebuild some of the muscle and my physique. But so anyway, let me find a question in here to talk about. So jump in on this. But
I think you teed it up, Bruce, because I want to go back to something you said. You tracked your journey publicly, and insert health. And I, all the listeners listen to this. A lot of business guys. What we keep private or try to deal with in the dark usually manifests and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I realized that I'd always dieted privately, and because I was embarrassed or failure or whatever, I didn't want people to know. And when I went public with my journey, I've done that around a lot of things. I mean, because when you literally, that's complete ownership. That's part of, as Coach Burt might say, when you decide, it means to kill off everything else. When you decide, no, I am choosing health, I am choosing my family. And dads, I'll just call you out. Like, dude, it's time to level up. Like, this world is showing what masculinity is about. I'm going to tell you right now, dads need to step up and own their physical health and start teaching their kids, because society, America right now, is not teaching them how to be healthy. It's going to have to start, stuff like that has to start in the home. I think that's part of leadership. But when I went public, man, and just like you did, Bruce, that's where literally I feel like the chains of obesity came off. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I love to indulge. I don't call them as much cheat days. I call them choose days. No, I'm choosing to live a little bit today because I'm building the habits and I'm doing the habits each and every single day. So no matter where you're at in your journey listening to this, dude, it's just starting. It's making a decision to be like, you know what, enough is enough. I was born 10 and a half pounds, Bruce. I mean, bless my mom. I came out freaking overweight, dude. And now, so I was fighting the bulge from day one. But I did at 31 years old, I said, enough is enough. And now I'm 45 years old. Yeah, I'm 11% body fat. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I feel absolutely amazing. And guess what? My income went through the roof because my body got healthy. My marriage got better. My relationship with my kids got better because I'm learning how to manage this unhealthy habit. We all have a drug of choice. And I go off on this, but we all have a drug of choice. Mine is food. Okay, some it's alcohol, some it's other stuff. Yep. But I literally, once I owned it, I'm like, no, I'm doing something about it. And your business, I see everybody that gets their health in order, their business follows.
100%. And I'll share my theory / input. I agree with you 100% is because most people, it's not the problem of the mouth and putting the food in. It's what's in between their ears.
That's right.
And it's I'm sure you, like me, we're emotional eaters. I put on weight during open enrollment this past season because emotionally I was spent. I was working hard. I was stressed. We're working 12, 15-hour days to get through our busiest season like a tax person might. And so my choices were poor. My decisions were not, because my mind just wanted to be comforted. And the victory you're describing to me is you overcame your internal struggles and head trash, which impacts every other part of your life as well. Your self-valuation, your self-worth. You don't think you're entitled to or you should have those things. And once you took ownership and control of that, I as well, my business, I mean, this is a newer business for us. We're just starting our 4th year, but it's not a hockey stick, but we've almost doubled our business every year in the 3 years. So, and we started out strong. So a lot of it comes from my renewed confidence and feeling good about myself. And the word I'll put out there is happy. Like I spent years, I lost a business in 2016. I think I shared that with you. There was 4 years of just, what am I going to do until we finally figured out this business. And starting this business in 2020, right in the midst of COVID, was a rebirth for me. It was a repurpose. But then when I saw myself and what I became from a physical standpoint, you know, I'd been down, I'd been beaten. I couldn't figure out what I was going to be doing to recreate the income and the lifestyle that I'd lost. And so I was pretty rudderless. And that's a mental and physical challenge. So for me, the whole thing flipped when I got my purpose back, right? And tied to the prey drive. And then, well, I want to be healthier. I want to be fit. And then now for me, the workouts and the stuff that I'm doing in the mirroring of you is, you know, more physicality, getting leaner, being a little bit more buff. I mean, I'm 60, so it's not that it's an excuse, but, you know, now that I'm back where I kind of used to be, my mortality smacks me in the face. Like, how many more good physical years do I want? And I certainly can't be 280 pounds and expect to last another 30 years, right? So
and let's
it
just
all
talk
goes hand in
about
hand.
the respect that, you know, unfortunately we live in a very judgmental world, and people are judging you, and they are judging a book by its cover, and especially when you're in sales. And if you're in the business of selling yourself, selling a service, and you're overweight, you are losing deals. That's just the bottom line. You know, when you see a fit person or even a person, you can tell if someone's on their journey, they're either moving forward or backwards, and they could still be 50 pounds overweight. But it was obvious when I was watching you drop, it was like, this guy is in pursuit. It doesn't matter what, no, you're not where you want to be. Shoot, are any of us where we want to be? No, but we're in pursuit of where we know where we're going and where we want to be. People respect that. I post a video of me working out almost every single morning in my Instagram story and over on the Real Doug Wood. And people are, you know, I do that for me because I have to be there. I choose to be there, but I'm there for me. And people tell me, literally, they get, because I own an online school, I'm opening a big fit club and spa here in town. Tia and I do a lot of stuff. And they don't even just follow me for our fitness, but they're like, I can tell by your self-discipline of being in the gym every day that your habits, that you're successful in other areas of your life. And absolutely. Because when you see a healthy person, that shows discipline. Shows discipline, that they're willing to do hard things. And so that's when I say your income goes up, because if you can discipline yourself, what you're putting in your mouth or getting in the gym every day, no matter what you ate or drank the night before, but you still showed up when you didn't have to, when everyone else is, you already got an edge. And that's what gives you confidence, because you ain't canceling on yourself.
And there is a physical change to your body, and the endorphin rush and everything else that comes in. When I work out, I feel much stronger, much better in my day. And like you said, I think that's a key piece, is even when you don't want to, like, that salesperson doesn't want to make that call.
No.
Right. They don't want to take that rebuttal. How easy are you going to quit? Like hitting the snooze and going back to sleep. Well, I'll work out tomorrow. Right. I'll call that client back tomorrow. Like, no, dude, like, grasp it and do it and keep winning. Right.
And that's what kills self-confidence. Everyone wants more confidence. It starts with your alarm clock in the morning. People that struggle with confidence, the first question I ask, because I always coach it. And I'm like, what time do you get up? The answer is usually. Like, what do you mean usually? What time do you get up? Well, and then they set my alarm for X, but I don't get up till X. I'm like, you've already failed on yourself. You've already canceled on yourself. No kidding why your freaking confidence is low. You're canceling on yourself. It's the smallest things. It's not big hacks like, oh my gosh, like that just changed my world. It's like, no, do what you said you were going to do.
And those small chips, right? Those small dings eat away. And again, that self-confidence, and you're already lying to yourself. And so that's where the head trash then starts to come back into the game again. Then it's like, well, I'll just have the banana split today, right? And it just becomes this self-defeating cycle. So you got to break that cycle, and you got to be accountable. There's great stuff out there. The morning 5 a.m. morning millionaire guy, you get up at 5 o'clock every day, and beat everybody else out there, and have that extra time in your day and do the things and not make excuses. And I did that for a while. I mean, I don't need to or want to get up at 5 a.m, but I did that for like 90 days just to get myself back in that habit of like, you know what? I got to take control. I got to take better action. And I moved it back to 6:30. But yeah, I'm up pretty much at 6:30 every day. And then I hit the gym, and then I get to, do my thing and get to work. But I'm into cold plunging now. I do the sauna and the cold plunge.
Well done.
That's
good stuff, man.
That's the battle. You talk about a battle. I sit in that cold tub. I'm now doing they give me 15 minutes. They probably wouldn't kick me out, but I do the full 15 minutes. And they're like, you're still in there? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and that first 30 seconds, it's everything your body wants to do is to get out of that tub. And it's breathing. And so for me, there's that psychological win of overcoming things out of your comfort zone. It's cold. I don't want to, I'd rather be in the sauna sweating than in the cold. But I go from the hot to the cold, and I just jump right in. It's like, okay, go. And then it's just breathe, and I meditate. I listen to my music, and I'm relaxing, and I'm thinking about things. And dude, I'm winning. I'm just stacking small wins to keep that psychological edge in my favor versus going home and saying, you're a loser, you're a bum, and have that negative self-talk. So, yeah, I think
cold plunge, man, that fires me up, because I'm a cold plunge every day, and you hate it at first. Oh yeah, but I mean, you think about it, and if people, even if you skip the gym, I'm gonna give a few people a few hacks. Even if you skip the gym, even if you're being lazy, if you can get your butt in that cold plunge and stay in there for 2 to 3 minutes, again, breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's going to reduce inflammation. It improves your circulation. It improves your mental state. It strengthens the immune system. It relieves stress. Hello. It increases your energy levels, and it helps with muscle recovery. And I mean, start with a cold shower, but I hate cold showers. I'll do a cold plunge.
I don't know why I can't stand a cold shower.
No, totally submerge and just stay there. Like, you get out of there, you're ready to conquer the day.
So how cold is your tub?
48 degrees.
48.
Okay. And it is nice.
Yeah. the place that I go to, they say it's around 50, 49, 50.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no meter on it to know for sure. But I know I have another friend I'll introduce you to next time I'm out there, is also in Scottsdale. He shows me pictures or videos. They break the ice. It's 32 degrees,
Oh, nice.
and he's in there for like 2 minutes.
Come on, baby.
Right? Like, I got to get you in touch with him. So Chris
That'll
P,
make,
if you're
make your
listening,
nuts
big Chris
pucker
in
up
there.
on that.
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit cold. 50's chilly, but I think the coldest I've been is a 42. I think when I first started, it was physical ice in the tub, and I think
That's
they shot it was 42. But
Good
and
stuff.
I like that was my very first time. It's when you and I met last May, and when I was out there for a conference, and that was part of it. And then you and I golfed. By the way, Doug's a great golfer, so there's something else I'm aspiring to be a better golfer like Doug. So you touched on stuff before. You threw out some quick things about the other businesses. So let me just recap a little bit. So you got involved in the Optavia coaching about 12, 14 years ago. You did it part-time. Obviously, you had to test the waters to make sure it was viable and it worked and you were happy with it. And then eventually you got to that point where your tipping scale was like, I can do this full-time.
Yeah.
And from there, things exploded. So let's talk a little bit about that tipping point, because there's entrepreneurs out there that struggle, want to quit. You and I both know you don't fail till you quit. So never quit. You just keep getting up. You're going to get knocked down. There's always going to be setbacks and losses along the way. But, cliche, it's not how many times you knock down. It's how many times you get back up, and just get back up one more time than you knock down. And that's the win. So you went through that journey. Let's talk a little bit of that. And then let's tie it into some of the other businesses now that you've been able to expand or build because of your success in not quitting and giving up 12 years ago.
Well, I have a firm belief that take your biggest place of pain and make it your place to literally reign. And for reign means winning. Like, I'm going to take my pain point, and my biggest pain point was always my health. And so I said, if I can ever get healthy, I used to call it skinny. I don't want to be skinny. I would say I'm healthy now. If I can ever get healthy, I'm going to literally share it, and I'm going to shout it from the rooftops. And that's what we chose to do. I believe if a good thing happens to you, you have a duty and obligation to share it with others. And when we lost that, I lost 70 pounds. My wife lost 40. We got healthy together. It changed our marriage. It changed the way we parented. We went on a mission to share it with others. Now, of course, we utilize social media. But with the program, Optavia, is the vehicle behind it. But, I had to work it. And we flat out got our hands dirty and started hustling. And what people don't talk about is the embarrassment behind the shame of a business that failed. My furniture business was failing. I was $250,000 in unsecured debt on that company. Plus I had a $1.2 million lease that I didn't know how I was going to pay for. And I was falling farther and farther behind on that lease, and it was non-bankruptable. And so my only way out was through. And I would talk to people like, if you're going through hell, well, hell, don't stop.
Right.
You better get to the other side, and back's always worse.
Yeah,
back is always worse. So I just realized once I started making money as a coach with Optavia, I said, Tia, this is our answer. This is our future. We're going to work as hard as we can. We're going to live off the part-time, and we're going to dedicate the full-time income to paying off our debt. And we did. And so it took me 2.5 years to do that, with selling out and liquidating all the inventory and things like that. We walked away 100% completely debt-free, and we chose to go around the entire country. And I'm not afraid of getting in front of people. Here's the thing. People are buying you. They ain't buying your product. They're not buying your service. They are buying you. A lot of you guys coaches out there, you got products and things to sell. They are buying you, which number one, why you need to get your health in order. But number two is they're buying your belief. They're buying your passion. They're buying your core conviction. Does this guy really believe what he's saying, or is he just trying to get me in for a sale? Why do I always hear from this person on the last day of the month? Is he really in it for me, or is he in it to make his deal and make his quota? And people can feel that. They can smell that. They can tell when someone's authentic. And I began, to share my journey all over the country, Bruce, with everybody, not who would listen. Again, I'd rather be celebrated versus tolerated. I went looking for the people who were looking for me, and I shouted it from the rooftops. And so we did that. And it was like a flash. I wake up sometime in 2016 to about, no, it was closer to about 18. I realized we had helped 300,000 people by 2019 officially, because I counted then. We had helped 300,000 people transform their health between us and our team. We just built teams of coaches and leveraged, of course, Zoom, the phone, FaceTime, Facebook, and not much Instagram even then, just mainly Facebook. And we would coach through our community groups. And now I know, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's well over 500,000 people that we have helped. And it's, when you're doing a good thing and noble work, I feel really good laying my head on my pillow at night that I'm helping people win. I know you do that every day, but it feels good to not just make $1, but to make a lot of dollars by helping other people win and them actually thank you. And that was the biggest difference between the furniture business. I was getting, pissed off customers. Your delivery guys, slammed their truck into my car. They're pissed about their furniture being scratched. I was getting text messages, thank you. Literally the words, thank you for saving my life. You feel like I didn't do it. You did the work, but you introduced them to something, and that's noble work. And so it is an honor, but it produced the book. I wrote Church Boy to Millionaire 5 years ago, which is a very unplugged, not as much a faith journey as it is a personal development leadership book on what it means to take personal responsibility of your life. But that kind of helped fund our online school and the other things that we love to do, which is all around helping people.
One of my early followers was Zig Ziglar back in the 80s for me. We had cassette tapes. I listened to it in the car, right, driving to work, and Nightingale Conan and Brian Tracy and all that type of stuff. And the great, just a great line. And what you're saying resonates is you'll get everything in life you want. As long as you help others get what they want. And that's the putting out your hand and lifting somebody up. And that was his success. That was his approach. And I'm in a service business. You're in a service business, and you just help. The money will come if you just do right by people. And as you said, be genuine and let people know and see what you truly are. And it happens, and the money will follow. You're helping them, and they trust you. And so, that to me is a lesson, for the younger listener out there, is if you're chasing the money, you're not being purposeful, and it's going to smell. You said it before, the last day of the month at the car dealership, and you walk in there and there are a bunch of wolves because they're all trying to make their quota or their nut. And, you could smell the desperation. Right. And so, yeah, you behave that way. Look, like attracts like. So if that's the kind of client you want, you're probably not going to wind up with the best clientele. So if you do it, you and I walk our walk, you're going to get the kind of people that you really want, that are going to be appreciative and respectful.
And that's the type of people you want to do business with anyway. Don't take shortcuts to quick wins or quick quotas when they're going to be a headache. In our business, we often get a lot of people want to transfer, like, oh, I'd rather you coach me than this other coach. I'm like, I don't take transfers. And why? Because you're usually inheriting somebody else's excuses. Somebody else didn't want to do the work. I'm not going to come over there and force feed you. I'm not going to come over there and yell at you to work out every single day, even though you don't have to work out that hard. It's more nutrition. But it's so someone always thinks the grass is greener, or if I just do this, if I buy this next course, all my problems are going to go away. No, I'll tell you when your problems are going to go away, when you take personal, radical responsibility of your life and say, I may need education here, yes, but it's not one more course. It's taking personal responsibility and actually doing what I said I was going to do and doing it every single day.
Yeah. No, 100%. So before we run out of time, let's talk about the entrepreneurship side of things. So you built up the business, and as you've shared and wonderfully amazing, 500,000 people you've helped influence, which is astonishing. I'm sure the pharmaceutical companies aren't happy about you because you're getting people off their medications. The pharmaceutical companies are losing millions.
These drug companies out there, they're just pushing more and more and more.
Yeah.
Hard to make a dent with them. My gosh.
So how what you mentioned, I know you worked on, you're building out some gyms and some other businesses. Let's hold the school conversation, because we're going to do a part 2 to this and get into the whole school side of the things, and talk about that for our listener. But the other businesses with the gym and stuff, what have you been able to get involved with? Again, as an entrepreneur, look, we don't just wake up entrepreneurs. You had a business, you were in a retail space, you moved into the coaching business, and the economics followed suit. So now it's like, oh, I have the ability and the abundance of my cash flow. I'm taking care of my bills and my family, and I could do other things. So now that's led you into expanding. And so that entrepreneurship side of you is like, well, now we could do these other things to cross brand, cross promote, like the gym. But
Absolutely.
again, I want you to talk about it.
Yeah, well, I look back at where anything started for me, and that was getting healthy. So T and I found that our marriage getting better when we got healthy together. And so a few years ago, we started speaking at marriage conferences, and people would come in and ask, and, I know not everything is peaches and rosy behind everyone on Instagram, but you can usually tell when someone's walking the walk and they're not just selling the talk. And my wife and I have a very, very special relationship. And so, we've done the work, we've done the hard work, we've done the soul work, we've done the hard work as well. And so, because we invest in ourselves, I just don't read, business books. I read marriage books. If you want to be better, get better in that area that you want to pursue. And so, we started speaking on marriage, and then we'll talk about it here in a few minutes, but the school is just a passion point of mine to be able to work hard. And that's the thing. A lot of people, Bruce, don't stay focused and do the one thing long enough before letting their squirrel moments pop in. Like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. I never got big into the real estate game. I mean, we own some real estate. We own an Airbnb, and we've got some different things going on. But I stayed true to coaching for a long, long time before I started building plan B and plan C and plan D and all these plans. And I know you're the plan man. And like, if the main plan ain't working, well, why are you starting and deviating from the main thing? And so, but one thing, more recent passion project, it's not just a passion project, is my wife and I love to travel overseas, and we go to Europe a lot, and we started getting into saunas and the cold plunges and things like that. But then, 2 years ago, we said, we just don't want to be weight loss people, healthy people. We want to be like fitness enthusiasts. And so we totally retransformed our body, and we did. We competed in a couple of physique shows last year and just went insane. I got down to 7% body fat, and it was fun. I can't live there because I love a sacrifice. I love my choose meals. I don't mind working hard, but I have too many choose meals. And so I can live at 11, 12%. It feels good. But we said, you know what, we want to do something that's never been done before. And so this fall, we're opening the Hive Fit Club here in Scottsdale. And it's a complete world-class gym. But you combine that with a world-class spa and cryo and red light therapy, hyperbaric chamber, like all these modalities to take the person to recover well. And then in the middle of it, we're having a fuel and a smoothie bar. And so it's like a one-stop shop for health, all under one roof. And, Scottsdale is one of the biggest health and fitness capitals actually in all the world. And it shocks me that there's not something like this already here. But I'm the type of guy, I'm like Buckminster Fuller said, if the current system's not working, go create your own. And I looked around and I'm like, why are there a gym here? And there's that med spa here. And then I stop here for the smoothie. I'm like, why don't we just create a culture, a community all under one roof? And so, if you work in one thing long enough, you can turn around and use those either funds or those tools to expand and build other businesses too. And the main one doesn't have to pay the price or pay the sacrifice because you started doing too many things or got into too many partnerships too early.
Well, what would you say we start to wrap up? Thank you so much for that, by the way. What would be the top 2 or 3 challenges a person should expect or anticipate having to deal with? I don't know if I'm phrasing the question the right way, but like I've gone through my experience and hell and back, and you've gone through yours, and now you're embarking on another business. But I I guess I want to phrase it as people get to a point and then they need to jump the broom. It's an old Southern phrase. Jump the broom is getting married, right? You got to make a decision. You're jumping the broom. You're crossing over. You're moving to that threshold. So how do we help the struggling entrepreneur jump the broom, make those decisions, make those commitments, and eliminate as much possibility of failure? Is what would you say is your recipe or secret sauce? Like how have you been able to overcome or master that? Is that a fair question?
It's a fair question, and it's a very hot topic. And I'm not the sharpest guy in town, and I don't have all the zingers, but I will tell you a few key things. The way I've chosen to live my life, I have my own recipe for success, and I've trusted it and I've followed it. And the first one was when I lived in Oregon, Bruce. I was trying to get my furniture business going. Well, excuse me, it was going. I was trying to get the health business going. And I had good people that I considered good friends. See, they liked Doug. I didn't know this, but they actually liked Doug in the struggle. Now, they wouldn't tell me they liked me in the struggle, but I started getting healthy. It started disrupting the Doug they knew. We'd go to church, or even our church friends. They were just like, you're getting too skinny, or you're promoting this new thing. Like you shouldn't do that. And it's the wrong place, the wrong time. And I started getting and I know people might call it hate. I started getting bad advice from people that actually had chosen to live a status quo life. They were comfortable owning their little construction company. And I'm not saying a little construction company is a bad thing. They had just decided that Doug owns a furniture store. I own a construction company. I own a landscaping company. This guy down here owns the coffee shop. We're all just going to be little business owners together. We're going to co-commiserate together. And we honestly, it's like crabs in a bucket. We actually don't want anyone to really get too far ahead.
Yeah, I've used that, the crabs in the bucket. I love that.
We moved 30 miles across town. We had to get out of that area. And we didn't have enough boldness to tell people that we were going to a different church, but we knew we had to get away from these people. So we actually moved and sold our house, rented for a while, and we kept building our health business. But then a couple of years went by, same thing happened. Like we had decent friends and stuff, and we started, most people live where they live either because the job keeps them there, or they got some crazy in-laws that give their wife or their husband so much crap. Don't take the grandkids away from me. And so they stay in their little town, in their little area, living little lives with little bank accounts, 30 pounds overweight, calling white picket fence, the unpaid for boat, and the Escalade in the driveway. And they call that the American dream, and to be a small business owner. And then they fly off to these conferences where you and I met, and then they go back to living small. They come, they get inspired, but they don't actually make a change. I got tired of flying out to conferences, meeting people like you, and not going home and make a change, because I'd fly out to a sunny place. I'd fly back into Portland, and the Southwest Airlines pilot would be like, welcome back to Portland, 40 degrees and rain. I'm like, God, why do we live here again? Why do we live here again? And Tia and I both looked at each other one day and said, why the hell do we live here? And we said, I don't know, just because it's where we grew up and it's where we've always been. And I'm like, how's that working out for us? So we literally packed everything up and we moved out of state. Yeah, you're dang right. We lived out of suitcases in the back of my wife's Land Rover all summer, out of hotels. We put everything in storage before we moved to Arizona a month or two later. But we got our kids out of a disruptive school environment. See, we weren't the only ones paying the price for living small. Our kids were paying the price. And so you answer the question, Doug, what would you say to the business owner or the person? Move. If it takes moving churches, move churches. If it takes moving industries, move industries. If it takes moving your butt and getting your ass to the gym every morning, move your ass and get to the gym every morning. But you got to move, staying the same. And even this is a weird year. Some businesses are thriving right now and others are just getting murdered. Actually, I had a really rough 2023. It was not a great 23 from a transactional standpoint. But you know what? Emotionally, spiritually, I'm stronger than ever because I moved. I didn't sit by, like a little bump on a log and just, oh man, let's just see what the economy hands us this year. No, I'm going to go create my own economy, and I refuse to participate in the government's economy. I create my own economy. And so it's taking bold actions like that. And some people just don't have enough balls to move, Bruce. But you got to move, and it's going to take bold steps and getting away from negative people. And some of you guys on your Instagram, your Facebook, the crap you're following, the people you're spending more time scrolling in comparative reality, just like, oh man, look at them. Stop following. If they've motivated you, let them motivate you, but stop watching their stuff and you go create something. Anyway, I could go on about this forever. It's a hot button.
No, you're talking about limited beliefs, and people are brought up and they put these barriers and buffers around themselves of limited beliefs. And so they're afraid, or they see their own limitations. And then, to use your crab in the bucket, and then they grab you and they want you to adhere to their limited belief system. And it's like, well, no, dude, that's not for me. And so I'm going to reference, we're both wearing headphones, right? And so you got to shut out the noise. You got to take control, and you got to rise above the noise and shut out all that static. And if that's the circle, what Doug's talking about, that you're in, that is, everybody's keeping you down. Your parents tell you can't do it. Your friends are telling you can't do it. You need new friends. You need a new circle. I mean, you can't get rid of your parents, but there's a reason they're stuck with what they got.
Let me say something about parents, though, because I'm so grateful for my parents. But my dad told me when he got me in the furniture business, because that's the business he was in, he said, Doug, just get used to, some seasons are good, some seasons are bad. Get used to debt. There's a lot of debt that comes with it, but there's also a lot of really good seasons too. But just, you will deal with debt. And guess what? My dad told me I would deal with debt. Guess what? I believed him. He also told me that if you're lucky to make over 150 grand a year as a small business furniture owner, you've made it. Guess how much? I never made more than 145,000 a year. Isn't that funny? That was my peak year in like 2006. That was my peak year, because he told me, and guess what? We hear a ceiling, and guess what? We automatically actually drop below it. And so I had to confront my own generational things that I love, people I love that told me that they were trying to help me, they were trying to prepare for me, but that was as big as he could see it. And that's why as entrepreneurs, family people, all of us, we've got to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm 45 years old. I'm 50 years old. I'm 65 years old. If you're 65 years old, you've got 25 really good years left in you. I'm 45 and I've got 40 hella good years in me. And I'm not going to just settle for average. I'm not going to take a back seat in my life or my finances or accept debt as normal. No, you're going to go create your life and you're going to do what you got to do. But don't you dare start settling into this is the American dream. No, it's not even funny anymore. And I hate people that joke about food like, oh, just getting fat and old. It's not funny. It's like, do something about it. Be different. Be weird.
Unfortunately or unfortunately, life in society is, there's leaders and there's followers. And so not everybody is going to be the risk taker like you and I are. I've been self-employed my whole adult life. I've never had realistically a job with a paycheck that I showed up for work and they gave me a check. I had 1 year out of college. I was in the computer world, and then I became a stockbroker at Merrill Lynch at 23. And every paycheck I ever received was from my grit and hustle since 1986. And so there are plenty of people that you and I know that will never give up that paycheck and that security. And so there's leaders and there's followers. There's the queen bee and there's the worker bee. And so what Doug and I are trying to do is resonate with those who are at the cusp or are that leader that is willing to take the risk. Not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants the headaches and the hassles. There are people that want to work 9 to 5, come home and just have that modest existence and just go along. And that's just not me. It's never been me. I've never felt limited. I've had opportunities where it's like, well, you can make this amount of money and have summers off, but that's the most you're ever going to make. And it's like, well, why would I want to limit how much I can make? Like, I want to just give me a phone, right? I used to say, just give me a phone at a desk and let me show you what I could do. And so, there's nothing like being your own boss. So for those of you out there that's contemplating, struggling, wanting to do something, we're both here as people that have overcome we've both struggled. We've both had setbacks. We've both gone through our journeys, as you said, walk through the fire, walk through hell. And it's pretty damn sunny on the other side, isn't it? Like it's a pretty wonderful, once you got to that point of grabbing that brass ring, for me, I had it and I lost it, and my struggle's been getting it back. But therein is the journey, right? Therein is it's so much sweeter this time. I'm in a better position of grace and acceptance because I lost everything. And as I've described here, and I'm pretty transparent and I wear it, is you give somebody who's drowning his oxygen again, and that air, it's obviously life changing. And so for me, losing everything and then being able to finally have that purpose again has been uplifting, and grabbing that breath and embracing it, because now I've got a second chance. And it's almost like Scrooge, right? And now he's seen the other side and he wants to do good. He doesn't want to be that jerk off anymore.
And you ain't going back again. You're kind of like, I learned my lessons.
And so for me, not that I hope people I wasn't a jerk. I'm not what I'm saying, but I've embraced this resurgence and resurrection for me, and I appreciate it more. And, did I make mistakes with money, and was I reckless? And, did I do, like, I enjoyed my money. I made money at a young age, and I had no qualms about enjoying it. So I could be so much more, so much different if I had done different things, but you can't go back and unring that bell. It's what you do from here and how you change that path once you've identified and seen the lesson. Again, I love Doug in a lot of different ways. And so I've been after Doug to come on the show because I see the different things that he's done, and I take the pieces that help me and motivate me. But one of the components, and I don't have, my kids are older than Doug's, but what he and Tia have done is they've built or have put together, you describe it better, a school, because, homeschool's become a very big thing. And not that we try and be too political on the show, but there's different points of view of what's being taught, and the woke, and I don't want my kids getting that. And I don't want my teacher, telling them things that I don't want to tell them, or preempting when I'm ready to tell them things. And, Doug has a mix of boys and girls, right? You got a couple of daughters and your son. So, it's not a gender thing. It's just, I don't feel my kids should be hearing some of these things. So why don't we talk about that? Because the sidebar of the conversation, and I want to make sure the audience picks up on, is, options, decisions. And, this is another business that you're involved with. And if they're interested in those things, how they could potentially participate in that as well. And then we'll give them all your contact info at the end, and we'll bring it home.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, in 2018, I took my girls and my youngest son to Israel to just kind of tour the Holy Lands. And at the time, I had them in the best private school here in Arizona. And we took spring break, went over and saw the Holy Lands, man. We were at Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Sea of Galilee, Black Sea, man. I mean, it was just the coolest thing to walk through. And, I took my girls out of school sometimes when I'd have a speaking engagement. I'd take them with me on a weekend thing. It's like, I want my girls to see it. I want them to be in the fire. I want them to see not just what dad does, but I want to start putting them around bigger thinkers and, the way we do things. So we'd miss some Fridays.
Cardone's kids were talking on stage, right? When they were 8 or 9, he's putting the girls on stage.
That's right. And so
50,000 people.
That's what we want to do. And so we're just like, we're going to create our own, future of education. And, but the straw that broke the camel's back was we had the girls in a good school here. We came home from Israel late on a Sunday night, got them to school the next morning on a Monday. And they sent me an email the next morning and said the girls are falling asleep in class. And also they didn't do their homework that was assigned to them for the week of spring break. And that was it. And I went and picked them up after school. And I said, hey, girls, did you happen to tell them, your teachers, do they have show and tell? Or did you happen to tell them that you literally had your toes in the Jordan River yesterday, that you were walking the old city of Jerusalem literally 2 days ago? They're like, no, they never asked. And I said, okay, this whole thing is just jacked up. And then you didn't have your homework done. It's like, check the box thing. And I realized, Bruce, the biggest thing was, I said, I tell my girls to dream to stop. Don't let nobody get in your way. You can do anything you want to do. And I have them being taught, and I have them spending 7 to 8 hours a day with actually teachers that have given up on their dream and actually forgotten about what's ultimately truly important and what education is. And I got thinking back to, I'm like, okay, education was created 40, 50, 60 years ago for farming. That's why they would have summers off. And I'm thinking just this whole world has shifted, the digital world. We got these multi-million-dollar devices in our hands with phones. We can connect to anybody at any time. And I'm thinking, I don't know how you read a book, but I would take an Audible any day. My wife loves a hardback. And I'm thinking, we're all bringing information in the way that the world now allows us to receive it, just like this amazing podcast, watching it, listening to it, streaming on to different places. But we're asking our kids to go sit and everybody learn the exact same way, no matter where you're at, like no matter the school. You can take the worst school in the inner city of Phoenix that's run by the government, or you can take the best school, outside of, North Carolina at a small little private school out there. And most all of them are sitting in a classroom for 7 hours a day, still checking the boxes. And I just said, you know what? I think there's a better way. And I want my kids to be educated. I said there's probably other entrepreneurs out there that are just like me, that want the best for their kids, that want to make sure that they're being taught, and forget how to balance a freaking checkbook. That's what people used to say, like how to do taxes, how to build businesses, how to be effective on social media, how to build YouTube channels and websites and things for today's world. And so I said, well, again, Buckminster Fuller, if it's broke, you're going to have to create it. And so I reached out to my partner who we used to go to school with in Oregon. And I said, you know what? You've got an amazing school up there. I was always impressed by the way she built a school. And I said, I know entrepreneurs. And I said, I know entrepreneurs that would join me in an online school. And so within 6 months that fall, we launched Valor Global Online. It's valoronline.org. And we launched Valor Online, ONLINE. So just valoronline.org. And we launched it that fall in 2007. With 7 students in the fall of 2018. So it was right after that spring break trip, and went to 19 the next school year, and about 23 throughout that next school year. So people were slowly coming aboard. But here's the cool thing: we're the only online school still to this day with live classes. So we don't they don't have an email relationship with their teacher. Like my daughter's classmates, in fact, she kind of peeked in just a second ago to bring me a coffee. And she's in between classes right now. Her classmates are literally from actually all around the world now. And so she got back from the Philippines a couple of days ago. We have a sister school in the Philippines. So this thing is blown up. But the coolest thing, and then I'll stop talking about it, Bruce, is that when COVID happened, no one knew what to do. The school system was just like falling apart, and everyone was like trying to do this homeschool online thing, which actually hurt us and helped us. Hurt us in the way people got a taste of online school and they're like, oh my gosh, never again. I don't want my kids home all day. But we were actually doing online school before it was the COVID cool thing. So it forced a lot of people that were going to try us anyway, but didn't quite I don't know about this thing that Doug started. They all came aboard. And so we went from 23 students to 123 students in 3 weeks. I would just, we were ready, but that maxed us. Do you think just a small little school like that? Now we're supporting over 250 families, American families, entrepreneur families. It is a faith-based Christian school, but we focus on all the things to build businesses. And so you don't have to be, part of the Christian faith to come to the school. Just I will let everyone know it is faith-based. But we have as I said, our sister school. So we have a sister school that we support in Philippines, Kenya, Haiti, and Guatemala. So we have 4 schools that we send students. If you send us one of your students here, that pays for a student in an underdeveloping nation, one of those 4 countries. And these aren't just there's a random student. No, they wear Valor gear. They wear Valor uniforms. These are real kids getting an education when most of us here in America take it for granted.
That's fantastic. The question that popped up in my head: what do you and Tia think? Because your oldest daughter's
19.
She
was our first graduate last year.
So is college a traditional path for people that are like, how do you
For
view
some,
that? Like
uh,
what would be next for those kids? Because if the conventional system's not, at least in your views, working or what you want for your kids, sending them to ASU or U of A or Oregon State, you're putting them back in that same, kind of undercurrent of a system. No? So would
both. Let me answer it two ways. One, we encourage a student to pursue where they want to go next. So we actually put one of Maya's classmates went to Yale this year. So we're a fully accredited school to prepare a student for their future. So, we were accredited as of 3 years ago. We got fully accredited on our own. And but let me just pause on this accredited thing. People always want to like, Doug, are you accredited? My next question is, accredited in what? Oh, I don't know. Just are you accredited? Because the world, the government, the society has, certification for this, and I'm a certified that. But like, who's actually making the certifications?
Right. It's still their box that they're certified.
They
right?
have
if you're outside the box, they're not going to. We don't believe in what you're doing, then what's the point, right? Like
so we had to, and I don't mind saying this on there. We had to get certified by the people we're actually trying to run from. So we were certified through I won't say their name online, but one of the main certifications out there that I will keep on the DL. But it was funny getting Zoom calls and stuff, and they were blown away. Like, this is amazing. We had to say a few things that we knew they wanted to hear, but they were blown away also with what we're doing, and we got full accreditation. But I say all that to say my daughter is pursuing videography, and so she's interning here in Scottsdale. She's building an online business, and she's pursuing her videography business through Tori Cruz, Miss Tori Cruz. Okay, so she's actually interning with Tori, doing all of her content shoot, because she's a live stylist going around to all these different people's houses in Scottsdale. And so she's studying under Tori and just doing some of these things. We're preparing kids. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? Do you need college? If they do, we empower them to go there if they want to be, a doctor or, lawyer, stuff that you're going to need. But we're putting kids in college and back into what some might think is the traditional system for that formal education.
That's what I'm curious. And again, you've got 3 kids that are going through the program. Their path may not be to go for what is referred to as higher education, right? The college degrees, but to hear that somebody went to Yale, my question would then kind of be in the sense, this was my personal growth. So I'm not trying to put any water on the fire, if you will, of things. But for me, I had to go away and get out of my house and go away to college and get away from a very oppressive, abusive mother, a typical Jewish mother. And she was suffocating me, and I couldn't grow as a person. So I grew up by Rutgers University in New Jersey, which was 2 miles away. And she wanted me to go to Rutgers. And I'm like, God, no, I want nothing to do with that. So I went to play 6 hours away and figured out how to be my own person. And so the reason I'm saying this is I'm a big advocate over the years with my clients and helping them, plan for college for their kids. I was always an advocate of letting your kid go away to school, not live at home and go as a commuter, because the living away from home has a maturation process. Those 3 or 4 years for your kids to be on their own and socializing. And it's not necessarily about the academics as much as life skills. And so the reason I'm asking it, it's a curiosity. Please, it's not a judgmental at all. I don't mean to come across if I am, is the kids are being homeschooled. There's a disconnect on the socialization because they're home. So they're not in the classroom. There's no recess, and it's just a different environment. And now you're into the potential to go to college. And I'll say it this way is a lot of colleges are online anyway. Like they're not even having live classes anymore in person because of COVID as well. So you can still go to Yale and sit on Zoom like this and have a lecture and go back to your room and be in a single room dorm, as a lot of schools have done as well. So, but there's still some socialization. So my question, and curiosity is you and your kids. Like, how do you, if your next daughter wants to go away to college, that could be a big leap or a challenge. Like, how as a parent, what do you do to help them acclimate to now going into a setting like that when they've been in a homeschooling situation? To me, there's a big bridge potentially to gap. And so, what could be a solution, or how do you think you would handle it? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I mean, maybe there's no answer to it, but it's a thing for me that I kind of think about is if what you're doing to Valor is the wave and more are going to do it, then it becomes a natural question and answer is, well, what's next after high school? Like, what do you do to keep that same ideology infrastructure in place for them? So go ahead.
Let's talk about that. Well, first of all, we got to meet the individual where they're at. And Valor is not a one size fits all, meaning every student doesn't thrive in it, just like every student doesn't thrive in traditional school, except we send them all there. So first of all, we have to meet each student where they're at and what they need. We have some of our families, they have half the kids, one or two of them in Valor, and then their third goes to traditional school because that's where their kid thrives or is thriving. So that's just one. It's not for everybody. Number two is there is the old funny sayings about homeschool kids, and years ago it was like they walked funny, they looked funny. I don't know if they could talk now. Today, actually, you can pretty much recognize a kid that hasn't been a part of the system because they usually can look you directly in the eye. They haven't been bullied. They can shake your hand. My daughter sold like 500 of my books a couple of weeks ago at a conference. She'll sit there and she'll upsell you. I mean, she will talk circles around you. She sits there and holds conversations with adults because parenting for with our kids, parents, for those of you listening, this is a sweet spot of mine. And we focus on a lot of our education for the parents inside the school, because if the student's going to win, the whole family's got to be winning and the parents have got to be winning. And so it starts with, what does your child need? What's going on? When was the last time that you just didn't ground them from their phone, that you actually got involved and sat and listened to them and asked them, what's the hardest thing about growing up in the Wood home? What's the hardest thing about being you, Caitlin? Like, what's your biggest win in the last 3 weeks? Parents, when is the last time you've asked your kids, what's the hardest thing about being them? And you stopped and you didn't try to fix their answer or just told them the way it's going to be. So we're really, really big into connected parenting and meeting a child where it's at. If the parent is doing the job at home, the kids are going to thrive in a traditional school. In fact, my youngest daughter, Caitlin, she is 16, and she wants to be a professional dancer. She really is drawn to the University of Alabama. I can't say she's a strong student. She doesn't love the student game, but there's something about her that she does want to go for the dance team in Alabama, and I'm championing that, but I'm exposing her to actually environments, life environments, real work environments, things here in Scottsdale at our conventions. She's traveled, she's adaptable, she's seeing things, and we're able to talk about it. We're not just like, no, ignore that, get off that. I mean, some parents have this rule like, no social media until this certain age. Well, you might want to start using them. It's like handing your 16-year-old the keys to the car at 16 and saying, all right, just take it easy. No, handing these kids a phone and saying, stay off of it without showing them how to use it, what's out there, what's prepared, what could be attacking you, why you're feeling depressed. Yeah, you've been scrolling on TikTok for 3 hours. That's why you're in a mood. So we teach these things in the school to the kids, but also we teach these to the parents, because us as parents are just like, technology is happening so fast. The kids are not afraid of technology. And us as parents, whether we're boomers or Gen Xers or whatever, we're like starting to be like, oh man, I don't know. Can we still go shopping at Target? I don't want to do the online thing. And so we just have to I think we have to understand, where are we as a parent and as a family? What do we need? But also, where's our student at? And let's meet the student versus trying to just do a one size fits all. Like, every student needs to leave the house. Some do and need to go off and, let's just say, grow up. And others actually need a few more years with some guidance or maybe an internship or things like that.
Well, if it's the right phrase, it's emotional intelligence.
That's right.
And again, kudos to you. And again, what I'm hearing is it's only as good as the parent. It's only as good as the parent's emotional intelligence to be able to see and recognize and want to execute what you're talking about. And so your growth in your path and the things that you've walked through and gotten to this point has given you the emotional intelligence to assess and execute for your kids. And I hate to say that there's so many people out there that don't have or possess. Again, it's leaders and followers, and it's, the worker bee versus the queen bee. So, again, I applaud you in that sense, because you've recognized, but you took action and you executed it. And hopefully we can find some listeners out there for this episode that maybe needed that push or didn't know this existed, so they can check you out and get involved in the schools, and maybe it's the right fit for the kid. But I loved everything that you said, and you framed it, because it's not one size fit all, and it's not for every kid in the system. But if I raised 3 boys, and if one of my 3 was just not fitting the mold, well, you know what? There wasn't another choice. And so now I could have pursued Valor or a program like that for them. And, I had 2 kids that were athletic, and 1 kid was a theater kid. And my theater kid was not academic. So I didn't bust his chops about his grades. He wanted to be in the theater. He went to a conservatory school and honed his craft like your daughter, wants to do with dance. But I never browbeated him like, well, you got to get a diploma. That's just not, So, my older one played football and wrestled, and he would go to the football camp and the wrestling camp, and we'd go to the sporting events that he liked. My other son, Matthew, loved the theater. So we went to the theater. Like, I took him to Broadway and see shows, and he didn't want to go see the Knicks. he wanted to go see Wicked, And so, and then I sent him to a private school that had a conservatory program for the arts. And I got him out of the mainstream. I didn't even think about this till I got into it. Is I sent him to a prep school in Florida while we were living in New Jersey, because it had a focus on the theater for him. And he got away from the bullying of being the geeky little, dweeb in high school that was a theater kid. And, he came out as gay when he was 19. He finally figured that out. But I'm sure he emoted that energy unbeknownst. Right. I mean, we knew at a young age, as we told him, when he finally came out, we were like, well, we're not surprised, right? Like, it wasn't a shock, but, he had to go through his own path. And so, but I put him in an environment. I allowed him to go to an environment that he could be more of himself and around others in that area of interest. If my older one was going to be that, and he's not, but that star quarterback, well, I would have sent him to a quarterback camp, right? With the Manning brother. Like, you would have. So you give your kids those opportunities. That's our job as a parent to recognize. So I guess in essence, I did do a little bit of that for that child that needed that special direction. And so, you're doing the same with your kids, is giving them those opportunities. And so we want to be able to have people know about this. It's again why I asked Doug on the show, is to talk about the program and Valor, schooling. So if it's of interest, how do people get in touch with you in general? They want to be a health coach. They want to know more about Optavia and certainly the school. And then, I want to be able to come out when you guys do your grand opening at that wonderful spa and gym. So I can't wait for that one. But so it was The Real Doug Wood.
The Real Doug Wood on Instagram. You can connect to basically, you'll be able to connect me, Valor questions, or my website, dougandtia.com. And Tia is spelled Thea. So it's Doug and AndThea.com. And man, would love. Thanks, Bruce. This is so good. And I just appreciate serving. Parents, I would just close with this, because I feel like there's some dads listening to this. It's just, one simple step that you can do today is just go home, tell your kid how much you love them. Tell them you're proud of them no matter what path they choose. Their confidence right now is just getting beat to hell out of all of us, but especially the kids right now, with what they're seeing online and exposed to, or just the insecurities and comparative. They just need to, we need to build that up at home. And I think that's a great way of just serving our kids, meeting them where they're at. I know we work hard. We all provide really hard for our families. But just to sometimes remind them of why we're doing what we're doing, why, in your case, the Wood family or the Smith family exists, why we do what we do. So they understand they're a part of the mission. That's something that we did early on, Bruce, was we brought our girls in early. And I told them I was tired of telling them no. I said, I feel like all I do is Dad, can we do this? No. I never said we couldn't afford it, but I was always saying no. But it was because we couldn't afford it. And I finally said, I'm tired of telling you guys no. I'm going to work really hard for a season so I can start saying yes more. Will you support me in that? And I honored it. A season for me was 1 year. I said, when we do X, Y, and Z, and I had some goals, we're all going to Disneyland as a family. And I honored that. But I knew in a year from later, if I didn't meet those goals, I had to explain to them I probably didn't work hard enough, or it's just going to take a little longer. And I didn't want to do that. So, we can just bring our family in to the family business, if you will. Even if it's not a family business, it is a family because you're a family and you're the driving head of it.
I'll interject with this a little bit. I don't think you're aware, but I was a stay-at-home dad for 4 years. My ex-wife did not want to be a stay-at-home mom. And the reason for that decision is my folks divorced when I was 8, and my dad was a Saturday dad. He did not live in the same state. We were in New Jersey. He lived out in New York, and he would drive to New Jersey every day, which was a pain in the ass. I made that drive. I get it, but he'd pick us up, 11 o'clock. We'd go out to lunch and do something for the afternoon, usually drop us off by dinner time, and then he was gone. I didn't play too many sports because I didn't have a parent to take me nor teach me how to throw a football or a baseball, and, very self-taught. And my mother taught me. My mother taught me how to throw a football. My mother taught me how to throw a baseball. So, I didn't have that day-to-day role model in front of me. Believe me, my mother did an amazing job raising 2 kids on her own, and she was both mother and father, and good and bad. I have my damage from that as well, as I said. But to my point is, when I became a parent, I was not going to be that absentee father. And I did everything in my power. So when my ex at the time, when we got pregnant, I was fully expecting her to stay home and raise the kids. And she didn't want to. She was an up and coming CPA, and I was a stockbroker. I was a financial advisor. And I was a little burnt out. It was 1990. And I'd been 4 years in cold calling and browbeating, and just, it was taxing what I was doing and stressful. And I walked away from making $100,000 a year at 26, 27 years of age. Like, I had gotten success early. I was good at what I did. And it was an economic setback, but I stayed home for 4 years, and I was Mr. Mom. And then when I went back to work, I got back into the industry. That was I said earlier about, I could have been a school teacher and had my hours with the kids and had the summers off and still been the dad that I wanted to be. But then I looked at the economic limitations and I'm like, yeah, I'm not, 30 grand a year as a school teacher is not going to cut it. Right. I made that in a month sometimes. So I got back into the industry, and it became taxing for my wife. And then eventually she didn't want to be my wife, and I got the kids. I got custody. I got the house. She left. And the purpose of my story ties into you saying about the dad stepping up, being up, is I chose getting back into the career that I got a little burnt out about because it afforded me the lifestyle and the flexibility as used to take the kids to Israel. Right? Like, you're homeschooling, you can take them where you want. You're not limited. Oh, they're not off from school today. Right. And so for me as the parent, now the single parent, if you will, and my ex wasn't not involved. I don't want to paint her that way, but I got the kids on the bus every day. I went to the gym. I put in my hours. I came home. My ex took them a couple nights a week. I took them a couple nights a week so I could work my nights. She could work her nights. And then we alternated the weekends. But everything I did was to be able to be at the sporting event, at the play rehearsal, at whatever event, and thing and activity they needed. So I was anything but that absentee dad. And I resonating with what you're saying because you're calling out the dads out there. And I want to share it because people look at me and they're like, you stayed home with your kids for 4 years? Doug, it was the best 4 years of my life. We talked about my hitting 275 pounds. During that span, I got down to 167 pounds. Now, I wasn't 280 back then. I was always around 200, 205, in my 20s. But I was happy. I didn't have stress in my life. I was loving being with my two boys and raising them. And I'd exercise and I did whatever, but my life was de-stressed and I was in the happiest from age 27 to 31. I will say to my dying day were the best 4 years of my life. It was so rewarding. Again, not having a dad. By the way, my mother died when I was 22. So my mother was out of the picture, by the time I had the kids. So all of this being a parent was so important to me. It was my guiding principle to give and be there for my kids. So that's why I want you on here. I want to talk about these programs and things that parents understand, like there's more if they need or want. And that's what, got my attention when I learned about Valor and what you were doing. That's why I wanted to, help sing about it and talk about it and spread the word. And, look, if I got 5 listeners today on this episode, so be it. But if 3 of them call and we help influence somebody's direction, because, the kids are our future, right? But look, you and I both, I'll say this. I opened up the can of worms with my son coming out and being gay and rather different views. And it's not, religious or otherwise. But I basically said to him, Matthew, nothing changed after you said what you said to me. I would have taken a bullet for you 5 minutes ago. And I'll still take that bullet for you because you'll always be my son. Your identity, your decisions, it's your life. You have to walk your path. I'm supportive of whatever you need. And I need you to know and understand that nothing will ever change in our relationship because of what you just said. And I had to give him that reassurance. And again, I'm going down this rabbit hole.
That's because you're a father. I mean, there's a lot of, I would even dare I say sperm donors out there or dads by what the world might say, oh, wow, you're responsible for bringing me into this world. No, but a father steps up and loves their kids through anything and everything and loves them unconditionally. And Bruce, thank you for sharing that story. I don't know if you talk about that often, but I know we've talked about that privately, but man, that is so freeing because that's what a father does. He meets his son, he meets his daughter where they're at and says, you know what? It's going to be okay because we're in this together. I am your father forever. And that just gives me goosebumps, man.
Thank you. Yeah. And it comes, I have a lot of friends that are, now as adults out, loud and proud and gay, 50, 60, 70-year-old men and women. And they've met Matthew. I've introduced their lifestyle and shown him that you can be a happy person in that kind of relationship, not what's deemed by society to be conventional, and introduced him and he could see, same-sex couples together being happy and living their lives. But I've also spoken with a lot of them are my fraternity brothers. I was best man at a gay wedding for one of my fraternity brothers. And so I've had deep conversations, very intimate conversations. In the 70s and 80s, you weren't safe. You couldn't be who you were. We're astonished of how many fraternity brothers that were totally closeted in the early 80s when we were in college and how many of them, now have, and that's their lifestyle. And I talk to them and, ask about their journey and their path. And some of them have spoken to Matthew but I get it. And I empathize and they've opened up on how scared they were and how they were not received by their families and they couldn't tell their father. And this is a 65-year-old man that lived in fear for many, many years and that never told one parent until the other parent died because he knew the father wouldn't ever accept him. Like, that's just sad and tragic. So, I taking those lessons and hearing those stories and just how I've been as a parent, that's my journey. That's what got me here in that point. And hopefully Matthew can appreciate, that's the thing. He's 30 now, but, at 19, I don't think he appreciates what those before him have had to struggle with. So I wanted him to be aware of, like, it's not as easy. Today you've got it better. You're safe, safer. But anyway, I'm down that rabbit hole. But thank you for those kind words. So thank you. I appreciate it. But again, hopefully it helps those out there step up their game if they need to and identify. And, you're a champion of it. And I'm thankful to have you in my life and continue to build our relationship. So thank you for the show. Thank you for coming on here. Thank you for sharing all these things, and certainly continued success with the school and everything that you do. And so I appreciate it. So again, folks, it's The Real Doug Wood, and it was Doug and Thea, THEA.
Right.
Was it .com or
yes.
was it Wood in there? .com.
Yep.
So DougandThea.com is their website, and we'll put it in the show notes, and you can always reach out to me if you want to get a hold of Doug in here. So any closing thoughts, my friend, before we go?
Take action. I really loved our moment on move. Some men just need to move today, whether you be your body, your action, your business, your family. Take action today. Come on, boys. We got to do hard things, and this is a perfect season, early 2024, to do it. So, Bruce, it's been an honor, man.
Thank you. Listen, fail forward is okay. Just keep moving forward, and it's okay to fail. As we said, brush yourself up, and just keep moving forward. So I like that. So just keep moving and take action. So thank you again, Doug. So folks, it's another episode of Ask the Planman. I'm Bruce Weinstein, your host. Please like, share, subscribe. Go tell somebody about this episode. Hit me up at planman.tv. Give me a call at 844-PLANMAN. If you need some advice, always get it right. It's been a wonderful episode talking with Doug Wood in Scottsdale, Arizona. We talked about a multitude of things. Most importantly, stepping up as a parent, being a dad for both of us is probably the most important. Business will come, success will come. Walk your walk, take action. A lot of nuggets here today. So again, Doug, thank you so much for being here, folks. Until next time, if you need some advice, always get it right. Come ask the plan, man. I'll talk to you soon.
You need some advice, never sacrifice, always get it right. Ask the Planman. Finance, insurance, and more.